I'm always nervous when I begin. But anyways, here I am. So it is Ask the Therapist Tuesday. And I suppose, really grateful to people who watch our live and to those who watches it afterwards. So by our likes and that, we don't get to see that there's many watching, but actually over 700, I think 772 people actually watched Ask the Therapist last week. And our intention is that we reach as many people as we can doing these lives and ask any questions. So again, this week we have questions sent in, and I am going to read them. But first, I always like Jim Cogley's cards, and I pull one, and they ask lovely questions. So I'm going to read. I don't have my glasses this evening, but I'm going to try and read. So the one I chose this evening, just randomly, is Family Tree. So I'm going to read that for you now. So stretching back into time immemorial, we have literally thousands of forebearers. These are people who have survived against all the odds, times of hunger and poverty, war and disease, injustice, repression, and hardship. It is an amazing fact that if any one of these ancestors had not survived, had died as an infant, been killed in a war, or even had another partner, then you or I would never have been heard of. We just would not be here. Such is the delicate fabric of life, and what far reaching consequences there are when we fail to respect it. So, just a few questions from it. So, what ways can I honor my ancestors? What positive traits have I inherited from my ancestors? What negative traits may also have been passed on? What ancestral gifts have been handed down into my family? And what am I doing to my tree? So, we are all products of those who have gone before us. So, that is really some thought that way back the generation, just one person wasn't there, we wouldn't be here. So it is such a miracle, and that we survived the journey, the journey from conception to birth, that we make that journey. So we are one of billions and billions. So what a great thought for this evening. And I suppose I'm reminded as I look outside this evening, it is 8 o'clock and it is bright. So summer is on the way, and um, there's more warmth, um, maybe more energy. For some people, not. For some people, people hate summer. Um, but for a lot of coming out of the darkness of winter, um, can feel very freeing for a lot of people. Um, Winter, sometimes we can imagine winter as close to like a depression, that there is no energy, or there appears that there is no energy, and yet under the ground so much is happening, getting ready. I always see that as very similar to when somebody is depressed. We think, there's nothing happening, there's no energy, there's no life, but actually deep inside there's so much at work, and with that so much at work, it is preparation for real growth and change, because it brings us back, and it calls us back um, into the depths of ourselves, so that we really listen to what might be going on in our body. So that's, I suppose, what just came to me there as I looked outside. So I've spent a weekend. My love is sowing seeds and getting out into the garden, getting things prepared and ready. So building beds in which to put the seeds. So I've been planting little seeds in the tunnel, so that they will be growing and ready to go out into the beds in the next month or so. So it's lovely to go in every morning, give them all a drink of water, and see has anything started to appear. So there's little I'll take a video maybe in the next few days of just the little seedlings that are starting to peek out. So again, that new hope, new growth. And while it's forming shoots and coming up out of the ground, it's also forming roots to anchor it and to hold it and to make it strong. And I suppose for ourselves, it's really important that we root ourselves, because when we root ourselves, that gives us strength. Um, and simple ways to root ourselves is really feeling the feet on the floor, just anchoring the wise body, feeling the feet, noticing the breath, having a look around, seeing, hearing. So using all your senses is a really great way um, of rooting ourselves. And the more we root, the stronger we are for our everyday life. Life happens to us all. It's not great all the time. It can be really hard all the time, but that we are not blown over by the storms of life, that actually we have some sort of a grounding within ourselves. So I'm going to just read one of the questions that came in. It's really great getting the questions. So I'm going to just read one of them. Okay, so how can improving my mental health help with personal growth? Okay, so I suppose that's kind of a question. So how can improving my mental health help with personal growth? So our mental health and our physical health are connected. We can't have one, and that's the truth. We can't have one without the other. So when we look after our mental health, we are really tending to ourselves. We're tending to our emotional self, how I am, um, and that affects our physical health, which is our personal growth. And it is only really by facing into or leaning into struggles that are going on in our lives that really helps us to grow. Um, if I try to avoid and I use avoiding behaviors, maybe drinking, sleeping too much, all of that kind of thing really affects us, and we don't grow. We become smaller and smaller in ourselves. So the more I lean into what is, and that is really noticing how I am, because for some of us, and I know for me, it would have been a thing that really I'd be angry and wouldn't know what I was angry at. And actually what would be in underneath the anger would be tears and would be sadness. So it's like, can I check what's here? Because there might be something on the surface, but if I lean into it and go deeper, um it really begins to allow itself to be seen. So it's looking at, can I accept me as I am? And I suppose I have a great faith in the breathing space. It's just a 3-minute meditation where you just check in and you ask yourself, how am I? So first, to start with, physically, have I pains or aches? Just that noticing how I am physically. Am I hot? Am I cold? Hungry? Thirsty? And then just shifting the focus from that and just checking, how am I emotionally? So again, just noticing, am I anxious? Am I sad? Am I happy? Am I excited? Um, and not to change. So if it's sad that's there, allow sad just to be there. If it's mad, allow it to be there. If it's joy, allow it to be there. Because these are emotions and they're moving all the time. So how I'm feeling right now can be really different in 5 minutes time. So again, just lean into and really see, can you see where that is in the body? Can you see, where in my body am I holding this emotion? And then shifting from that and seeing, how is my head? Am I running and racing in my thoughts, or is there ease? Is there just calm? And again, whatever's there, just notice it. Notice it. And then allow yourself into your breath. So just following that one breath as if you had only one breath you could take. So be really intimate with the breath, notice it coming in the nose, going down, right down, imagining it going down into the belly and pushing the belly out. So just breathing in, filling up into the chest and breathing out, following the breath as you breathe out. So just noticing because even the temperature, there's a different temperature in the breath as you breathe it in through the nose than when you breathe out. So it's usually cooler on the way in and warmer on the way out. So just do that for a couple of breaths and then recheck. So, how am I now? Just noticing physically, how am I? And you may really notice changes that weren't there when you did it the first time. So, it can be a really lovely way. So, by doing that, you're actually grounding yourself, you're rooting yourself, and that is helping your growth because you're getting to know who you are. So many people come when they come to me and they'll say, I don't even know who I am anymore. Um, and that's because we spend so much of our time outside of ourselves. So, really important that we come home, um, check in. How am I? It's like as if you're checking in on an old friend. And the more I do, the stronger that relationship grows. So that is personal growth. I'm growing. Um, and it's really looking after my mental health. So checking, am I hungry? Am I thirsty? Do I feed myself? All of these things are really important because we can tend to ignore ourselves. We can be there for everybody else, but we can really ignore ourselves. Okay, so just I suppose to say a little bit about what's going on for me this week. So I suppose anybody that listens here will know that I do my sea swimming. I didn't go this morning, but I'm going tomorrow morning. But last week we had a real treat. We had a sauna booked, um, which I think there was six of us, and it was 80 euros, so about 15 euros each for 1 full hour in the sauna. And I suppose after our winter of sea swimming, it was such a treat to um, get the bones so heated. So one of the people that swim with us decided for us all, well, I suppose we all went with them, that we would go into the sea first and then have our sauna, get the bones heated. But we got the most beautiful morning. So at about maybe, I don't know, did anybody see the video? Paul Stenson from Savna Saunas sent a video to me of what he had taken at 7:45 in the morning. It was 3 degrees, Baltic cold, but sunny and beautiful. And I suppose one of the bonuses for us is to swim when the tide is in, because when the tide is in, you don't have to go out as far to be in deep. So I like to get my head dunked. I like to go right in, but it's awful when you have to walk nearly half a mile to get in. So the tide was in, and we were in and out of the sauna for an hour. Just, oh, it was just heaven and a real treat for us. I suppose as we're coming now into the summer months, we have a lot of the cold put behind us. Um, but still, um, I absolutely love sea swimming. But every morning before I get in, I think, what the hell am I doing? Because it's so cold. But it is that feeling that you get after it. So it's that really looking after your mental health. When you're in there, you think of nothing. You have a blank mind. You are in the sea, and your whole body, you're feeling your whole body. And for me, I always like to stay in, as I say, until I'm cooked. And cooked means that my whole body tingles. There's like a tingling sensation that goes all over the body. And I know then that I've had enough and that I have to go um, in out of the sea. So in the summer, that can take maybe half an hour or maybe more. In the winter, you're in for about 10 minutes before that burn. It's a burn. Um, but my thinking is that that burn actually sends off um, the endorphins. That is sort of the happy hormone that must get released because you come out and you feel alive and you are ready for your day. So that was my week. But speaking of Paul Stenson, so Paul has been doing podcasts, the White Moose um, series of podcasts on, I suppose, a deep dive into his own life. And I suppose I was thrilled to be asked to be a host for him. And so he had me on the very first episode, and I'm going to be on his very last episode of the first series. I'm sure he's going to have more series, but so that's going to be out tomorrow morning. So he really looked at, I suppose, his life. He was adopted. He had an addiction, his sexuality, his love of animals. So he has a variety of guests on. His sister was on twice. An ex-partner, a good friend of his, um, and so really, really excellent. Introspection, went right in and looked at lots of stuff. So I'm on tomorrow's episode where I suppose it's sort of that coming together of the whole piece. So I'm quite excited and looking forward to seeing that, and hope that he does more because he seems to have a natural ability in that area. Okay, I'm going to do another question. We're moving along nicely. Okay. Okay, talk to me about the importance of sleep and relaxation techniques. Okay, so the importance of sleep, and everybody is different. Some people get away on not too much sleep. Um, Other people need a lot more sleep. So sleep is so important for. It's a bit like a recharge of our system. So it's if a computer was on all the time and didn't get shut off, um, it would burn out. And a bit like that with ourselves, we need that downtime. We need to, but also it's not just that we need to sleep; it's the quality of our sleep. So we need deep sleep, we need REM, which is our dreaming, and we will have light sleep. So it comes in waves and patterns. And it's really important that we sort of nearly go into all of these patterns of sleep in order to wake up feeling refreshed. And there's also something about trusting the body. The body has a cycle. And if it's 2 o'clock in the morning when you go to bed tonight, and it's maybe 8 o'clock tomorrow evening and you go to bed, the body is thrown hilter kilter. So it's not in a zinc. It needs to go into zinc to know. And that's why routine. And again, everything affects our health. And routine is probably one of the best things for our mental health. Getting up at the same time every day, and going to bed at the same time every night, having our breakfast, our dinner. This is building a trust with me and my body. Um, and that makes us stronger because it knows what's happening. When the body doesn't know what's happening, it can go into confusion. And then it doesn't know whether it should be awake or asleep. And, it can set our sleep pattern off completely. Another thing that can affect us is if we have breathing difficulties while we're sleeping. So, thankfully, there's lots of different things that we can do that can help us, including certain machinery should we actually need that to help us. Um, but it is, looking here about sleep and relaxation. So, the more relaxed we are during the day, the better we will sleep at night. So again, being relaxed, the only way that we can be relaxed is if we are at home in our bodies, if we are in our body. I cannot be relaxed if I am spending all my time in somebody else's head, if I am spending all my time in work mode, in a state of anxiety, if I am lost in thought, regurgitating the past, something that I've done, that means I'm not at home. And if you think about somebody that's anticipating something happening in the future, you're all tightened up. If you're thinking about something maybe not so great in my past, I'm all tightened up. If I'm, so busy at work, trying to get work done, I'm all tightened up. So if I can relax, that means my cells, my body, everything is at ease. Um, and I'm at home. So I'm aware of what's happening right now in the moment. So right now, I'm aware that the dusk is starting to come in. I can hear the laptop, the phone. So I'm very aware of that. I can see myself, I can hear myself. All of these things lets me know that I'm at home and that I'm present. So that when I go to put my head down on the pillow at night, I've been here, so I know what's going on. For a lot of us, we put down our head on the pillow, and it might be the first time we come home. And there is incessant thinking going on because the head is downloading all the events that has gone on. And it's really hard for me to unwind. It winds me up rather than unwinds me. Um, and then it can take me an age to fall asleep. Or if I'm in the habit of falling asleep quick, because there's regurgitated the stuff trying to come up, that actually I wake up. So some of us can wake at 2 in the morning and be wide awake. So it is that, can I be as present as I can during the day? And that will have an impact on my sleep and also will have an impact on my well-being. So really important that we look after our sleep, that we are present to ourselves. Um, so I think we're going to just leave it at that for this evening. If anybody has any more questions, please do send them in to us. It's great to get the questions, and we or I will read them out next Tuesday night again. So we have two more before I'm taking a break. I'm going to be taking a break for just over 3 weeks. So there will be a few weeks without Ask the Therapist, but I will be back in the swing of it again the middle of May. But I am back here next week and the week after. So I want to wish everybody well. Have a great week. Um, Send in your questions, like, share anything to do with mental health. We want to break the stigma of mental health, um, and also to remind you of the online eating difficulty workshop that's our group work that's beginning in May, the end of May. So if you know anybody that you think this might suit, um, please do email us in, and you can put your name on the list. Okay, so take great care, and I will talk to you next week.